I was folding laundry in the living room when I first heard the front door slam shut across the street. It startled me not because of the noise itself, but because the Morgan house had been quiet for so long. Ever since their son Tyler left for college, the place had almost faded into the background of our neighborhood. The Morgans were the kind of neighbors you appreciated, respectful, kind, and kept to themselves. Tyler was their only child, a reserved and intelligent young man who spent his high school years either studying or helping his dad maintain the lawn. He was always polite, soft-spoken, and often offered to carry my grocery bags when I returned from the store. But after he'd gone off to a university back east, I hadn't really given him much thought, until that loud slam echoed down the street. Curiosity got the better of me. I peeked out the front window. There he was, Tyler Morgan, standing on the porch in worn jeans and a hoodie, looking broader in the shoulders, a bit taller, and carrying a quiet confidence I didn't remember him having before. Something in his posture, in the way he looked around, told me he wasn't the same boy who had left 8 months earlier. He'd grown into himself, into a man. Later that afternoon, I was in the backyard trimming my hydrangeas when I heard footsteps crunching over the gravel. "Hi, Mrs. Collins," came a familiar voice from the sidewalk. I turned, shielding my eyes from the sun. "Tyler, look at you. You're back early." He smiled, a little sheepish but easygoing. "Yeah. Finals wrapped up last week. Thought I'd surprise my parents. I bet they're thrilled. You look different." He laughed. "That's what they said too." There was a pause. I don't know why, but I found myself watching him a little longer than I should have. It wasn't just his height or the way he filled out his hoodie. It was how he held himself now. There was a calm assurance about him that hadn't been there before. Caught me off guard. "You need help with anything?" he asked, gesturing toward the shears in my hand. "If you've got the time, I'd love an extra pair of." From that moment on, Tyler started dropping by more often, offering help around the yard or fixing little things around the house. His parents were busy with work most of the time, so he often wandered over for company, conversation, or just something to do. At first, we talked about the usual things. His classes, dorm life, professors he liked or didn't. But before long, the tone shifted. The conversations went deeper. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch with glasses of iced tea sweating in our hands, Tyler said something that caught me completely off guard. "You know, Mrs. Collins," he began, "I used to wonder what it would have been like if you were my mom." My glass nearly slipped from my fingers, some of the cold tea spilling onto my jeans. "Excuse me," I said with a nervous laugh, unsure what he meant. "I didn't mean it in a weird way," he said quickly, his face serious. "It's just, growing up I remember thinking how you always seemed kind. My mom loves me, of course she does. But she's intense, always had expectations. You just always felt safe." I didn't speak right away. His words landed somewhere deep inside me. "Well," I finally said, feeling strangely moved, "that's very sweet of you, Tyler. I always thought of you as one of the thoughtful ones." He smiled softly. "You made me feel seen. That meant a lot back then, more than you probably knew." That moment stayed with me for days. His words weren't flattery. They were sincere, honest, vulnerable. And something about them stirred something in me I hadn't felt in a long time. My own son Matt had moved away years ago. Married, busy, living across the country. We spoke here and there, but the connection had thinned with distance. The house had grown quiet. My life repetitive, predictable. But Tyler's presence changed that. In the weeks that followed, he kept showing up. And as he did, the conversations deepened. He started opening up about real things. His doubts about school, his uncertainty about the future, his feeling of being invisible on campus. I listened. I didn't try to fix it all. Sometimes I just sat beside him in silence. Sometimes I gave advice. Sometimes I just let him lean on me. One evening, after we'd hosted a small backyard barbecue for the neighbors, the two of us stayed behind to clean up. The sun had dipped below the rooftops, leaving a lavender hue across the sky. Tyler was stacking plates when he suddenly stopped and looked at me with an intensity one hadn't seen before. "I need to tell you something," he said. I put down the bowl of utensils and turned to him. "All right," I said quietly. He took a deep breath and stepped closer. "I don't think I've ever felt more like myself than I do when I'm with you." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "I'm serious," he continued. "I know I'm young, and maybe this sounds foolish, but something about being here this summer, about being with you, it's changed me. You've changed me." I stood frozen, thoughts rushing in from all sides. Was this a moment of confusion, a fleeting emotion, or something deeper? "Tyler," I began. "I'm 21, he said, finishing my thought before I could. "And I'm 46. "I know," he said softly. "And I don't care." I looked at him then, really looked. And what I saw in his eyes wasn't naive. It wasn't some adolescent fantasy. It was steady, grounded. Still, I shook my head slowly. "We can't cross that line." "I'm not asking you to," he said gently. "I just needed to tell you, because you made me feel like I wasn't invisible anymore." His words lingered in the air long after he left that night. Barely slept. I kept thinking about the brushes of his hand against mine during yard work. The way his eyes stayed on me a moment too long. The way he laughed, free and full, only when he was around me. He never brought it up again. He respected the line I'd drawn. But his presence from then on felt warmer, closer, like something unspoken lived between us now. Then everything shifted. One afternoon I got a phone call. My ex-husband had died suddenly from a heart attack. We hadn't been in contact for years, but the news hit me harder than I expected. Grief, guilt, emptiness I couldn't explain. I sat on my front porch in silence, staring blankly out at the street. Tyler saw me from across the road. He came over without a word. He sat beside me and pulled me into his arms. "I've got you," he whispered. And I let myself go. I didn't hide behind politeness. I didn't pretend to be strong. I just cried. And he held me like it was the most natural thing in the world. In the days that followed, something became clear. I wasn't falling for a boy. I was seeing the man he had become. Thoughtful, grounded, present. And I had become something for him too. A place of refuge. Maybe even something healing. As summer drew to an end, he came to see me one last time before returning to college. "I know none of this was expected," he said. "But this summer, it meant everything to me." I smiled gently. "It meant a lot to me too." He hesitated. "Can I write to you?" "Of course," I said, reaching up to brush my fingers against his cheek. "Anytime." As his car disappeared down the street, a quiet peace settled over me. Life has a strange way of giving us the things we don't know we need. And that summer, Tyler had reminded me what it felt like to truly connect again. A hope. Be seen. Our story didn't start like most. But it wasn't over either. It was something new. Something real.